Welcome to this lesson on percentage applications. This is video 9 in our Number and Algebra series. Percentages come up constantly on the LANTITE, and they appear in many different forms, from calculating GST and discounts to working out simple interest and weighted averages. In this lesson, we'll work through each of these applications step by step, so you can handle any percentage question the LANTITE throws at you. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to calculate percentage increases and decreases, work backwards using reverse percentages, handle GST and discount calculations, compute simple interest, and solve weighted percentage problems. We assume you already know how to convert between percentages, decimals, and fractions. If you need a refresher on those basics, watch the earlier percentages lesson first. Let's start with percentage increase and decrease. The key idea is the multiplier. To increase a value by a percentage, you multiply by 1 plus the percentage as a decimal. To decrease, you multiply by 1 minus the percentage as a decimal. For example, a 10% increase means multiplying by 1.10. A 20% decrease means multiplying by 0.80. Notice the pattern. If the multiplier is greater than 1, the amount goes up. If it's less than 1, the amount goes down. Here is our first worked example. The school had 840 students last year and enrollment increased by 15%. To find the new number, we use the multiplier method. 1 plus 0.15 gives us 1.15. Then 840 times 1.15 equals 966. So the school now has 966 students. You could also calculate 15% of 840 first, which is 126, and then add it to 840 to get the same answer. Both methods work, but the multiplier method is faster and less error-prone. Reverse percentages are where many students go wrong on the LANTITE. The question gives you the amount after a percentage change, and you need to find the original. The trick is to divide by the multiplier instead of multiplying. For example, if a price is $180 after a 20% increase, the multiplier is 1.20. So the original is 180 divided by 1.20, which is 150. The most common mistake is taking 20% of 180 and subtracting it. That gives 144, which is wrong, because 180 is already 120% of the original, not 100%. GST questions are very common on the LANTITE. Australia's GST is 10%. For Part A, a laptop is $1,200 excluding GST. We multiply by the GST multiplier of 1.10 to get $1,320. For Part B, we're given a GST-inclusive price of $990 and need to find the pre-GST amount. Since 990 represents 110%, we divide by 1.10 to get $900. A handy shortcut. To find just the GST component in a GST-inclusive price, divide by 11. So, 990 divided by 11 is $90 of GST. This example combines two successive discounts, which is a classic LANTITE trap. A textbook costs $85 and has a 30% sale discount. The multiplier for a 30% decrease is 0.70. So 85 times 0.70 gives $59.50. Then, a 10% staff discount is applied to that sale price. 50 times 0.90 gives $53.55. The key insight is that stacking a 30% and a 10% discount does not give a 40% discount. The combined multiplier is 0.70 times 0.90, which is 0.63, equivalent to only a 37% discount. Simple interest is calculated using the formula I equals P times R times T, where P is the principal or starting amount, R is the annual rate as a decimal, and T is the time in years. In this example, A teacher invests $5,000 at 4% per annum for 3 years. The interest is 5,000 times 0.04 times 3, which equals $600. The total amount is the principal plus the interest, $5,600. Notice in the diagram that with simple interest, the same amount of $200 is added each year. It grows in a straight line, not exponentially. Weighted percentages come up when different components contribute unequally to a total. The formula is the sum of each value times its weight, divided by the sum of all weights. In this example, a pre-service teacher has 3 assessments worth 30, 30, and 40% respectively. The marks are 72, 85, and 68. We calculate 72 times 30, plus 85 times 30, plus 68 times 40, all divided by 100. This gives 74.3%. Notice this is different from the simple average of 75%, because the exam which had the lowest mark carried the highest weight of 40%. Here is a LANTITE-style reverse percentage question. After a 15% discount, shoes cost $93.50. We need the original price. The 15% discount means the customer pays 85%, so the multiplier is 0.85. We set up the equation. Original times 0.85 equals 93.5. Dividing both sides by 0.85 gives us $110. Remember, never take 15% of the discounted price and add it back. That would give the wrong answer. This is a cumulative average problem, which is a common LANTITE question type. A student has scores of 62, 78, and 71% on 3 practice tests. They want an overall average of 72%. We let x be the unknown 4th score and set up the equation. The sum of all 4 scores divided by 4 equals 72. Multiplying both sides by 4 gives us 288. The 3 known scores add up to 211. So x equals 288 minus 211, which is 77. The student needs 77% on their 4th test. Now pause the video and try these 6 practice problems. Problem 1 is a percentage decrease on a school budget. Problem 2 is a reverse Gst calculation. Problem 3 is a reverse percentage increase. Problem 4 asks you to apply the simple interest formula. Problem 5 is a weighted average calculation. And Problem 6 combines a discount with Gst. The answers are shown on the right side of the screen. Take your time and check your work against the solutions. Let's review the 4 most common percentage traps on the LANTITE. First, with reverse percentages, give or take the percentage of the new amount and subtract, always divide by the multiplier. Second, when stacking discounts, don't add the percentages, multiply the individual multipliers. Third, to remove Gst from a price, divide by 1.10, not by 0.10. And fourth, with simple interest, make sure the time is in years. If the question says 6 months, that is 0.5 years, not 6. Let's recap the key takeaways from this lesson. The multiplier method is your best tool for percentage increases and decreases. For reverse percentages, always divide by the multiplier, never subtract a percentage from the new amount. For Gst, remember to multiply by 1.0 to add it and divide by 1.10 to remove it. Simple interest uses the formula I equals P times R times T, with time always in years. And for weighted averages, multiply each value by its weight and divide by the total weights. Practice these skills and you will be well prepared for any percentage question on the LANTITE. Good luck!